Welcome, everybody, back to the Financial Advisor Workshop, which is a four-star podcast series. And this is the program where we talk to really smart financial advisors, members of our industry, colleagues in the industry, to talk to them about their practice. And there's as many ways to do this as there are people. While we all work on certain financial issues for clients, there's so many ways to slice and dice the industry. So today we have a gentleman who joins us from Texas, William Morgan Stone. He goes by Morgan, and he runs Stone Wealth Management. And you're in Austin, is that right, Morgan?
Yes, we're located in Austin, Texas. Yes,
Austin, Texas, which I understand is the fastest growing city in America right now.
Yes, my property taxes go up every year.
All the Californians coming, maybe it'll go down.
That's right.
Anyway, well, great. So we had a nice discussion before we started our formal discussion here about how you built your business. Now, so the typical program, Morgan, is people go to work at Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley, they get trained, and then they eventually leave and do their own thing. You came in a totally different way through the trust world. So tell our guests here on the podcast and the video series how you got started in the business.
Sure. So I graduated from college in the early 90s and spent a couple of years in Colorado after that. And then I moved back to Austin and got an internship at a local trust company here in Austin. And then was promoted to manage their real estate and notes and mortgages and oil and gas interests for about 5 years. And after that, I moved into more traditional trust administration, managing trust and estate accounts, some investment management accounts, irrevocable life insurance trusts or ILITs. Mm-hmm. And so I was there for about 10 years. And the last several years I was there, I decided to get my MBA and also get a certified financial planning designation. A university here in Austin, St. Edward's University, had combined those two programs into one. So I kind of got a 2-for-1, MBA and CFP. And the capstone program for that was to write a business plan. And so I wrote a business plan to start my own financial advisory practice. It really wasn't my intention to leave the trust company. But when I wrote this business plan and some pro formas, I realized that I could do a lot better working for myself and also work with clients who wanted to work with me. In the trust world, sometimes there are some forced marriages.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Interesting. Where not all the trust clients are definitely on board with you, are they?
Right. They work with us because they have to work with us. They, granddad put the money in a trust, or there was some sort of a lawsuit settlement and money went into a trust, and they're kind of have to work with the trust administrators. Right. And it can be adversarial depending on the circumstances of the trust. But the idea of working with clients that were excited to be working with me was appealing versus clients who had to work with us because of the trust relationship.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, good. So then you, we talked about, you start out with Greenfield, you couldn't bring your trust clients with, but you had knowledge and ability. So how did you develop a client base, and how long did it take you to ramp up?
Sure. So yeah, as you mentioned, and most of my clients at the trust company were corporate fiduciary clients, and so even if they liked me or wanted to come with me, they couldn't because their relationship was with Austin Trust Company and not with me. And so I basically started out with 0 assets under management, which was scary, being a new father and newly married, I guess. And so I was definitely motivated to do well. Fear is a great motivator. But during my time at the trust company, I also established a lot of relationships with estate planning attorneys and CPAs. I think I established a good reputation as a very capable trust officer who was well versed in taxes and investments, financial planning, estate planning, estate administration. So I had a good reputation within the estate planning and accounting community as a capable trust officer, trust administrator. And so transitioning to a financial advisor, I think, was not an easy switch, but definitely a reasonable sort of course correction in my career. And so they were ready, willing, and able to refer clients to me because they knew me as a good trust officer.
Nice. Nice. So, well, good. So then how long did it take you to ramp up?
Yeah, so it took me, in terms of ramping up, it probably took several months to ramp the business up in terms of getting registered and jumping through the various regulatory hoops. But in terms of sort of replicating, my income, my compensation, within about a year, I was making as much as I had been at prior 10 years at the trust company. So it definitely, my pro formas were correct in my capstone course. So I was very pleasantly surprised that I was quickly able to replicate my income.
So you were already an experienced trust officer, but you kept growing in knowledge in the industry. I see NAPFA on there. I see
Sure.
the DePaul program, and being a Chicagoan, DePaul's a local college. You're like, so how did that work out? You're in Texas. Why would you be in Chicago and all that?
Sure. So that was what they call the FPA residency program. The Financial Planning Association residency program. I believe they offer it several times a year to kind of 1 week boot camp for financial advisors and new financial advisors. And so I went through that program and learned a lot about sort of setting up a practice and working with clients and client communication and that sort of thing. So that was one of my educational sort of check marks on my resume was the FPA residency program. I think it's a good program. I recommend it to new advisors and also other experienced advisors. Sometimes you glean new information from it.
And that took a whole week, you said, something like that.
Yeah, it was a week-long course there at DePaul. So there are probably 40 or 50 people in the program from all over the country.
Okay, nice. Now you're also a CFP and a fee-only advisor. Let's talk a little bit about your practice. What kind of work do you do with clients? You do the planning, and then you'll do also allocation.
Sure. So yes, we have 4 advisors now.
Okay.
3 of which are CFPs. Myself and Antonio Tovar, Casey Swartz. We're all certified financial planners. We hired another sort of new planner, Austin Hilscher, in the last few months. He will be sitting for a CFP exam in November. Hope he passes. It's not an easy test. But yeah, so we're an independent fee-only registered investment advisor firm. So we're a member of NAPFA, as you mentioned. We are, most of our clients are probably the 1 to 3 million investable assets. We have a minimum annual retainer fee, and we charge a percentage of assets under management. We also have what's called a financial landscape analysis offering to our clients who don't want a full-fledged investment advisor relationship, but just want a one-time analysis of their financial situation. So we charge a one-time $2,500 planning fee for those clients, and that has actually led to some investment management clients who they go through the FLA, the Financial Landscape Analysis Program, pay the one-time fee, then decide, okay, we'd like to work with you on an ongoing basis. So then we'll credit that fee towards our investment management fees.
So how many folks have done that where they didn't move assets to you?
I would say it's probably about 50-50. I would say about half the clients who go through the FLA program end up transitioning to us on a full-time basis.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just they come back a couple of years later. They might not have the assets yet, but they come back to us a couple of years later and say, okay, well now we're ready for you to manage assets. If they're the Henry clients, high earners, not rich yet clients, they may have a lot of planning needs, which we can advise them on and provides insight and advice, but they don't have the assets yet for us to manage.
Interesting. So you've done a lot of marketing. I know you've been quoted in a lot of publications. Is that part of your strategy to do a big media effort and then let people see you in that level? Or is there other ways that you market?
So we recently started working with a marketing firm called Impact Communications. Marie Swift runs that. I think she speaks a lot of industry conferences and writes in trade journals, that sort of thing. So we've been working with her group for about a year now, and they've done a great job helping us redesign our website. Pushing media quotes or media inquiries to us, and we try to reply to some of them, but we also have to run the business and take care of our clients too. But yeah, we're trying to get more active in social media, and of course, sometimes it's hard to say where a lead came from exactly, but we try to keep a strong website with SEO and analytics and all that. We try to get quoted in social media, try to promote those. And then, of course, just the very simple take attorneys and CPAs out to lunch, the tried and true. So we try to have multiple lines in the water, and it's paid off.
That's great. Great. So what trends are you seeing now in the industry since COVID? So COVID's actually helped our business in some ways and hurt it in other ways. What are you seeing as far as your business in recent years?
Well, I mean, there's certainly the obvious of more Zoom calls and Zoom meetings as opposed to in-person meetings. And so that's, I think everyone is aware of that. Beyond that, I think and I think COVID kind of accelerated those transitions anyway. I think we're moving that direction to more remote work site in terms of employee work site or employee time in the office. And then Zoom meetings with clients, that sort of thing, and online account openings and using DocuSign and Laserfish and all that. It's where you're minimizing the time in the office with clients for kind of the perfunctory account openings. But what that does is when they do come in, it's more substantive issues. It's not they're coming in to sign account applications; they're coming in to talk about substantive planning issues.
Right.
Buying a second home, or sending kids to college, early retirement, accepting payout packages, all that. So I mean, we'd much rather have clients come in for that than signing account applications.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, good. Well, it sounds like you're doing some serious work for families who really need serious help, which is great. And how do you handle the money management side of the business? Do you manage any of it yourself, or do you have others?
So yeah, we manage the funds ourselves. We use an asset class based strategy of using we have a risk tolerance questionnaire, investment time horizon, very typical tools that most advisors I hope would be using. And then we custody through TD Ameritrade, and through them we have access to iRebal, which is their rebalancing system. And so we fairly often are rebalancing our clients' accounts. We use trigger points based off of a target allocation. So usually use 15% of a target allocation, 15% trigger point off a target allocation to trigger rebalancing. So I kind of say tongue in cheek, we're actively passive in the sense of once we set an asset allocation for a client based on their investment time horizon and risk tolerance, we try not to manipulate that too much based on market movements or theories of what's going to happen. Have we bottomed? Is there a recession? That's anyone can make guesses at that, but we try to stick to our asset allocation strategy, but then be very disciplined about when we're taking profit, when we're reinvesting at different asset classes.
So Morgan, this has been, we just did a different podcast where we talked about the markets, and this has been the worst beginning first half since the 1970 market.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you had dividend stocks weren't down as much, your bonds might have gone down more than your stocks. We've had the worst bond market in the first half, and I think that's ever in recorded history. So how have you guys done first half, and what are your clients saying, and what are the implications for your business based on what happened?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, there as you said, there's been no place to hide really here in the last 6 months. The S&P is down about 20%. Bonds are down 10% or so. So it really hasn't been many places to hide unless you simply were smart enough to go to cash
right
on January 20th. Hats off to you if you made that call. But for 99% of us who probably didn't make that call, what do we do now? And so we've sent out a fair number of informational pieces to our clients about the history of bear markets and the benefits of having a disciplined investment strategy and not panicking, not selling at the worst time. And we really have tried to be very consistent in that messaging that we've been through this before. This is nothing new. We talk about the history of bear markets, the history of any one year. There's going to be declines. Don't panic. And we really haven't had a whole lot of clients call us up, in a panic, saying, should we get out? Should we sell? And I kind of jokingly say that the past several downturns, when we've had one or two clients who have just said, sell, get me out, no matter what information we throw at them, it's like, there's the bottom. We had a client who just who would listen and told us to sell, and I'm like, okay, time to buy. But what we have been doing is a lot of tax loss harvesting right now, the last couple of months. And we've been really aggressive about that. And the obvious benefit is when markets return to normal, hopefully soon, and we start getting back to taking profits out of positions to fund cash flow needs or just from rebalancing, that we'll have a big bank of losses that we've harvested to offset future gains, in addition to $3,000 of income every year. So we've been really aggressive about that, and we've been fairly aggressive about Roth IRA conversions in this market. If you're going to convert a position, convert it when it's 20% down, so the recovery is tax free. And so those are the two things, the two tactics we've been employing here to take advantage, air quotes here, of a down market.
Nice. Well, it's interesting. Have you seen many new clients want to join you, or have you had a lot of referrals because they're getting beat up at some warehouse and they say, we really want to work with Morgan?
No, I mean, I think where we've seen a little bit of slowdown are people who are nervous about getting into the market right now. Mm-hmm. We've talked to several clients and prospective clients over the past several months who have had some sort of windfall. They sold a business, sold a real estate asset, and they are seeing the stock market down 20%, and they're like, "Gosh, I just sold this asset, and I've got this big cash windfall. Is now the time to put it in the stock market?" The intellectual side of me says, "Yeah, now it's a perfect time to put it in the market." I mean, that maybe a few months early, but yeah, I'd rather buy into the market when it's down 20% than buying at an all-time high, where we were, 6 months ago. So, but I understand their hesitation and the psychology there. So yeah, I think there's been a little bit of a pause in the sense of clients and new and prospective clients, wanting to jump in right now.
Right. Interesting. Well, but not a lot of new assets though. But you haven't lost much at all.
No, we have not had any clients who have said, I'm out. You should have seen this coming. Blah blah blah. I mean, we haven't had any of that.
Yeah. Okay. But it's part of a long-term plan anyway. It sounds like you built the foundation, so you don't have to worry about that.
Right. And we've been and turning back to cash flow needs and investment time horizon, we're pretty disciplined about making sure that we've got plenty of cash to meet clients' needs, over the next, 3 to 6 months. So we have not been in a position to really have to liquidate assets at a bad time to fund cash flow needs that we knew of, that known cash flow needs. Mm-hmm. So we haven't yet had to, take a bitter pill and sell something at a down time to provide cash to clients.
So that's good. So I see you've done some interesting work where you've been a thought leader in the industry, where you've testified at different courts, and you've been, involved with the Economic Association of Texas. Tell us a little bit about that. What has that done for you? And
So I have done some expert witness testimony, which has been interesting, uh, and not so much of about advisors should have bought or sold this or that. More of just kind of what the kind of almost like an educational um, testimony of what might be reasonable for a financial advisor to do in general, and prudence and fiduciary obligations, that sort of thing.
Right.
So that's been kind of a side gig, I guess you can say, is the expert witness testimony. It's been I've worked on some interesting cases, and it's a potential if a financial advisor is looking to kind of augment their practice, serving as expert witness, can provide good income. I mean, charge
Mhm.
a couple $100 an hour, $250, $300, $400 an hour, depending on the case, depending on your expertise, and an attorney needs your expertise, and they need you for 15, 20, 30 hours. You get a few of those, and that's some decent income.
And that's nice. Well, plus you have the ability and knowledge to do it. And then I think it's also impressive work for clients. If someone needs you as an expert, if they know that, they're like, oh, my guy's an expert. I've got a guy, my advisor's an expert.
Yeah.
Which is great. Now, you mentioned some other advisors, and you have your own practice, about 175 million, but the whole firm is close to 300. So tell me about your expansion. One guy's taking the CFP soon, the others are. How does that all work, and what is your goal there?
Sure. So we've grown organically through the years. So it's simply been adding advisors to accommodate business as it comes in, and so we've never really looked at an acquisition. Or we've had a few conversations here or there with other advisors that never came to fruition, but it hasn't been an active part of our growth strategy. We've been more focused on organic growth, and we've kind of divided up our firm into some niches, and which has helped our growth. I have worked mostly with our business owner clients. Recently, about 2 years ago, I received a designation called CEPA, Certified Exit Planning Advisor designation from the Exit Planning Institute. I got that in 2020, early 2020, right before the pandemic. So that was an interesting time to get that, because a lot of small businesses went to survival mode and not really, how do we sell this business? Is more like, how do we keep this business alive? But having that CEPA designation and being a small business owner myself has let me work with a lot of business owners. They like my expertise in business planning, business management. We have I bought a building for my company, and then turned around and leased it to my company. And so that is a very typical business transaction for a small business owner, is the real estate question. So having done that myself, I can bring some expertise, or at least some benefit of experience to that part of the business owner issues, I guess. We've sold 5% interest in the company to two key employees, Casey Swartz and Brittany Ferris. They're listed as shareholders, our principals, I forget which, on our website. And so having gone through that process, bring some experience to the table and work with business owners, because a lot of times they're talking about, well, how do we transition ownership within the company? And I say, well, here, I've done exactly that. Let me tell you what we did. And so they can appreciate that area of wisdom I can bring to the table. And then in terms of succession planning and key man insurance, all that. So all these issues, our business owner clients like that I've kind of, been in the trenches, with them, trying to figure out the same issues that they're trying to figure out. So that's been very helpful from been working with small business owner clients.
So you're just like your clients.
Yes.
You're running too.
Yeah, exactly. And then Casey Swartz, she's a certified financial planner at our firm. Also, she has developed a niche or expertise in ESG investments. which is very, front and center, especially in Austin. Austin, we jokingly call the blueberry in the tomato soups state of Texas. Yeah, there are a lot of clients are interested in ESG investments and want to learn more about them and work with an advisor who has an expertise in that. So she is able to bring that to the table.
Right.
And then she's also works a lot of women in transition. She has a number of women clients who are divorced, that sort of thing. So that's kind of her niche. And then Antonio Tovar, who has been with us for a few years now, he is developing expertise in executive compensation planning. So incentive stock options, restricted stock units, non-qualified stock options, employee stock purchase plans, that sort of thing. And so clients, and that applies a lot in Austin as well, because Austin is a lot of startups and a lot of tech firms here. So compensation planning is becoming a pretty, or has always been a big factor to consider, especially being here in Austin with a lot of tech companies issuing, stock options, option grants, that sort of thing. So Antonio's expertise in that is definitely paying off in terms of new clients and advising clients on those issues.
So I mentioned or joked a little bit that Austin is definitely the growth, one of the growth capitals of America, and Texas and Austin specifically. Tell us how that has affected you. I'm assuming positively.
Sure. Well, certainly, yeah. Financial advisory business or any business, it pays off to be in a growing community. And people are moving here, and that's good for business. It's good for the economy. Not so great for traffic, but that's you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't. Come to Austin, but don't drive your car. That has definitely paid off. That clients have moved to Austin and want to establish a relationship with a financial advisor. And so we've been the beneficiary of living in a growing community and a pretty tech savvy community at that as well.
Do you still have the bats coming off the Congress Bridge?
We do. I almost forget about it because it's been. Doesn't every town have a big bat colony?
Now, are there more people come? Or are there more bats? No,
I don't know about that, but the bats are definitely an Austin sort of iconic experience to go see the bats at sunset.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing I know, 6th Street or 6th Avenue, I forget, it's the live music capital. Keep Austin weird. That right. So how is that community part of the Austin community? Are there lots of potential clients in the music world as well? Have you seen any of that?
Not so much, because most of the musicians here are struggling artists. So that doesn't really translate well to investment management clients. So if you're looking to for cheap guitar lessons, you're in the right place. But in terms of we have not really worked with musicians or artists as a client niche. Unfortunately they're either scraping by or they've just signed a huge deal and are off to Nashville or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, it's a great.
And I imagine working and what I'm here working with artists, whether movie stars, athletes, whatever, that can be. You earn your pay when working with that group.
Not always as easy as you think, right?
Right.
That's right. Well, so we learned a lot about your practice, how you operate, how you got started. It just sounds like a great situation all the way around. We're about done here as far as like discussion, but we'll probably have anywhere from 300 to over the next year, 1,000 advisors see this. And if you could give them one message that you would want to tell basically our colleagues, imagine you're in the Austin City Limits Auditorium, and you can tell the whole industry a message or two. What would it be?
I think it's about the trust that you establish with a client, that you are there looking out for their interests. You're there to try to do the right thing for them, give them good advice, give them planning options, listen to them, really understand what their pain points are, and not just try to dazzle them with your investment expertise. They can see right through that. They know that's, you don't know the silver bullet any more than anyone else does, but they are looking for someone who they say, okay, this is someone I can trust. This is someone who I can work with. This is someone who's looking out for my best interests. And this is someone who, if something happens to me, this advisor is going to look out for my family, is going to look out for my wife, my husband, whatever. So I think that is the number one thing that new advisors need to impart to their clients, is that we're here as a resource to you. We're here looking out for you. We're looking out for your best interest. We're not trying to sell you the latest product.
Right. No, that's a great message. And that's really, in fact, the charge of our industry, right? And hope everybody follows it. But the fact that you went there right away shows me that that's really where your heart is and your mind is. And that's really great stuff. Yep. It's really a pleasure to have you with us today. So for all the great advisors who have been on this 4-star workshop, and for all the great advisors at 4-star, we'll leave it there. I'm your host, Brian Castle, and thank you to Mr. Morgan Stone for being with us today. And we'll be back with another interview with another really smart guy or lady, just like Morgan. So thanks for this, Morgan.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your time.
Take care.